Hey everyone, welcome to another Endless SpaceX video. In this video, we are looking at the Senate screen. Senate screen, where democracy goes to die. So the Senate in this game, it is the thing that happens every 20 turns on normal speed. It's essentially the replacement for the Empire plan from Endless Legend. And there's a lot to this, but I actually think it needs to be fleshed out just a little bit more to make it really, really shine. But as it exists now, I can more or less explain what it is. So you'll see your government type here. Each faction has a particular starting government type of these four. So United Empire's Federation off the start. The Riftborn are a republic. Horatio's a dictatorship. I believe Lumeris are they a democracy or are they a republic? Who's the democracy? I don't remember. Someone's a democracy, and you'll find all of these have their various advantages and disadvantages. So for a federation, +2 systems occupied before triggering expansion disapproval on Empire. What that means is over here you'll see 1 of 10. This is the number of systems we can have before we get a penalty to our approval rating. And you can see here, it's not actually listed as a positive or negative because we don't have the penalty yet. But if we were to get 11 systems, you'd see a slight disapproval penalty on your system approval. You can also counter that by picking up hyperpacks here with the patriotic press and the cultural inverdicts with its culture unshock. I forgot to point that out in the last video that is what that little number means. So, yeah, federations generally like to expand. You can set your political party representation to 2 on the Senate. So, you can have 1 to 3 political parties. A dictatorship has 1. Federations and republics have 2. Democracy has 3. All that means is you have a bigger pool of laws to pull from as these parties grow in strength. The big thing about federations is we can spend our influence to intimidate citizens or reinforce the intimidation on citizens. So intimidating citizens provides a strong penalty to the competitors, ideal if the chosen party is not one of the favorites. Cost depends on number of colonies. So what this means is we have industrialists right now. When an election would come up, if we wanted to ensure the industrialists win, we would click on them, hit intimidate citizens, and it would essentially mean the industrialists would get more votes than everyone else, and the industrialists would be in power. Now, if your political party is sort of entrenched already, you can hit reinforce intimidation, and that'll mean a strong political party stays strong, remains strong. Intimidate citizens, if we wanted to, say, make the militarists stronger, that's what we would use there. We'd reinforce for industrialists in the later stages of the game to keep them in power. So I'll point this out. You need to change your government a required approval rating, a certain amount of influence based on the government type, and you need the tech unlocked called... where is it? Where are you? Government diversity unlocks new government types under the xenoanthropology tech. That'll let you change your government. Generally speaking, I prefer federations, but that's just me. Anyways, democracy. You set the political party representation to 3 on the Senate, you get +1 approval per population, and you get a bonus law slot on the Senate. So you'll get another law up here, you'll get a 3rd political party here, and we would gain 7 approval if we were a democracy. So the advantage of democracy is you can have a lot of laws, a lot of political representation, and a lot of approval. However, you cannot influence elections at all. That means if, say, the militarists got really strong as a political party, we can't stop them really from taking over. We do have the official support concept in this game where we as the player say, I'll throw my official support behind this thing, but it's not a huge benefit to that political party. The advantage, though, is you get 3 parties. So you might want to switch to a democracy and another law. So you might want to switch to a democracy if you have more or less control over how the political parties develop. But you might also want to switch to a democracy if you want to combine together the laws from the political parties. I'll explain those in a moment. So dictatorship. Set law slots to 2 on Senate. Rebellions start developing when a system is unhappy, and you select political party representation to 1. There are no election actions because you don't need them. That's right, a dictatorship, you don't really need political actions because you have a political party. Law slots are set to 2, like federations and republics. Now, the rebellions I've never had to deal with. I've seen, though, after taking new systems, rebellions start up when systems are unhappy, but I've never actually seen what happens when a rebellion happens. So I can't really comment on what that means. For a republic, set political party representation to 2. The laws provide better effects. And your election actions, they provide a strong boost to your main party instead of penalizing the other parties. And they cost dust. You're essentially paying to play for politics with a republic. So when you switch a law, you'll enter a section of anarchy for like, I think it's 5 or 10 turns, where you don't have laws, you don't have a senate, and the government is switching over, and then you'll have an election, and that will determine the makeup of your political parties. So this little section will give you information on the trending parties. It's a bar graph. It's pretty easy to follow. These are your political parties with their senator. Your senator is usually the first person that comes in with the that type. I don't remember if there's a way you can switch your senators. I've never actually had to do it. And yeah, since this is a federation, we got the 2 leading political parties. A democracy gets the 3rd. Here's our population census. This tells us the number of people in our empire as a whole and their types. So we have 2 imperials and 1 hisso off the bat here. This tells us their political leanings. So hisso, they're militarists, anti-pacifists, anti-scientific. Imperials are industrialists, anti-ecologists, and pragmatic, which means industry and science kind of go hand in hand. Their leading political output is industrialists, so we get a little bonus to industrialists for every population unit. Same thing with the militarists and the hisso. So at 10 population units, whatever their political leanings are, usually these line up, sometimes they don't, get increased. At 20, you get some form of bonus. In the case of Imperials, they produce more influence when you have a system with Imperials. The hisso produce more defensive manpower capacity on systems with hissos. At 50, you get a larger bonus. So the Imperials can convert cultures over faster. And you get a law with the hisso. Oh yeah, and one little other thing. So each population has a luxury resource connected to it. And if you have that resource, you can spend a chunk of it to sort of increase the likelihood of them increasing in number in the systems they're in. I don't know these by heart. Sometimes you won't even get the resource in the game you're playing. Varies type to type. So yeah, you'll just have to keep an eye out on that. And that's sometimes something you need to do for quests. Or if you really, really want to get to like a level 50 bonus for a faction. Okay, laws. Every political party has a default law. This varies party to party on what it does. In the case of the industrialists, you get dust windfall. 10% of industry spent for any construction is converted into dust at the end. So when you build a thing, you get bonus dust when it's finished. Pacifists, probably my favorite default law, is percent FIDSy on peace and then percent FIDSy on alliance. I believe it's 10% per empire you're at peace with, 20% for each empire and an alliance you're with, so you can produce a lot of FIDSy if you're being very peaceful in the game. You can also pass additional laws. You'll unlock more law slots. If you're a democracy, you get 1 more. If you reach era 3, you get +1 law slot on every government type, except for dictatorship. When you get to rank 5, you get +2 on democracy, +1 on federation, +1 on republic. So you can get, with democracy, essentially all 6 law slots unlocked. Otherwise, you can get, 5, which is, 4 for republics and federations, which is, a lot of laws you can have. Laws provide bonuses. So if we look at the independent laws, they all have a positive and negative effect. We put the Toys for Boys law on. which gives us 20% more approval at the expense of 10% science. Early in the game, this actually is a 5% science gain because of the way approval works. Late game, this can help maintain your empire's approval rating. Another good one to pass early on, especially if you're the Lumeris, is the Super Tax Act, which is +3 dust per pop at the expense of 1 approval per pop. And actually late game, if you have a lot of approval structures and you're maintaining ecstatic easily, it might be a good idea to throw this on to just gain more dust. So for these laws, you'll unlock more and more of them as you go on. So like, this just happens as you just build in the game. As soon as you get, you know, this built up, regardless of political party, and this just happens over time, you'll be able to unlock more independent laws. And independent laws, their big bonus is they have no influence upkeep. So if you wanted to get, say, just straight up more science and didn't care about your approval, you can go for the cram exam, which is 3 science per population at the expense of 1 approval per population. It's actually a really good endgame law to have. So Senator Bob increases the approval, reduces the dust. Incidentally, Super Tax Act plus the Senator Bob Act actually go hand in hand pretty well. And then each party has sets of laws. And you can gain access to more of these as the parties grow in strength. And you can see the functional, established, potent. This just happens as the political party grows, as the game grows. Generally speaking, industrialists grow when you build industrial buildings. You can actually see this here. Supported by building industrial generating constructions, recruiting industrialist heroes, assigning industrialist heroes to systems and fleets, colonizing planets, leveling systems up. Those increase your industrialist ideology. And individual citizens in your empire as industrialists. All increase this stuff. And you can, as you increase these things, put these laws into practice. So we'll look at the industrialists here because that's the main party we have for United Empire. You have the new colony rule, plus 25 approval for 5 turns when acquiring a new colony, either by invasion or through completion of an outpost. It's okay. This costs 1 influence though per population. So we're generating 9 right now. If we were to put that act into place, we have 3 population, we would generate 6 influence then per turn. Larger bills have increased influence costs. Generally speaking, doesn't matter, United Empire, you're influence producing machines in the Empire. So you have the Mineral Misers Act, this is the Establish Act, +1 resource generation on strategics, and you get 10% industry on systems per strategic resource. So if we were to pass that bill, if we had this planet colonized, you'd get 10% industry on this entire system because of the 1 strategic resource. More strategic resource deposits, more industry on the system, but we would also generate 4 titanium on this system then, with that law passed. The Fleet Fortitude Decree just increases health on starships. Good if you're at war and you're an industrialist. The Work Not Shirk Act is one of my favorites. +6 industry per pop on planets. This is a very endgame act. It costs 4 influence per population on Empire, but essentially +6 industry per pop on Empire. For certain factions like United Empire, and especially the Riftborn, this is actually something that helps you win the game. It's a lot of industry per person when you get down to having a population of what, like 150? So you can actually get a lot of industry going with that act. And just to show the militarists, I obviously don't have their default act up, but you can, when you have them on the Senate, you can pass the lower fleet costs rule, reduce ship industry costs on systems, basically build ships faster. Suppose War Act, +25 science per destroyed command point. Each ship has a command point number, as I pointed out. So like beginning ships are 1, medium ships are 3, dreadnoughts are 6, arcs are 8. So if you were to destroy, say, a tiny ship, you'd get 25 science for a surplus that turn. You destroy a medium ship, you get 75 for that turn, and so on and so forth. You'd also gain 25 dust per opponent ship CP destroyed. Same thing, you'd get a little dust based on the size of the ship you destroy. The Usser Them Decree, if you're at war, you get 20% approval. The Deadly Intent Bill, increase your weapon module damage and your troops damage. I'll explain ship modules a little later. Suffice it to say, if you put weapons on ships, their damage is increased when you have this act up. Same thing with your troop damage, both on attack and defense on your empire. And you can see all of the laws in the all law section, even if you don't have these people, these political types on your Senate. So like a good early one, if you've got scientists, is the Star Boogie Bill, so you can explore faster. My Precious, if you have a lot of luxury resources, or if you're Lumeris in general, that's a really great one to pick up. I like the pacifists a lot, actually. Ecologists are okay. I don't think I've ever actually had a lot of ecologists in the games I play. Actually, all hands dictum could be really, really good. I don't think I've ever had religious on Empire at all. Okay. I generally lean industrialists, scientist, pacifist in my political parties up here. The pacifist default law I mentioned before is absolutely insane. So I think I've described all of the Senate. Oh, laws go into effect immediately, but they have a 1-turn cooldown. So if we were to hit end turn, we would be able to abolish that law, get rid of it, and replace it if we wanted to. Sometimes you'll get quests that require you to put laws into place. And, like, the United Empire has one where you need 4 industrialist laws. So you need industrialists on Senate, probably leading the Senate, too, to get this one in, if you stay a Federation especially. And then you need 3 passed. You just need the 3 passed for that 1 turn, then you can go back to whatever your setup was beforehand. So I think I've explained the Senate screen. Please let me know in the comments below if you need something cleared up, or if I didn't explain something correctly or clearly. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.